Hello, welcome to the All or Nothing podcast. Our official sponsors are KR Couriers and Transport Limited. This is a Northwest based courier company delivering all across the UK. They can assist in home moves and removals to large, heavy and bulky items, collections and drop-offs. Fast, safe and reliable deliveries. Please get in touch for a free quote. You'll find all the information within the description. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome to the Billy Moore podcast with none other than Nick Peet. Nick, thanks for coming on, mate.
Of course, mate.
Do you know what? You're used to all this stuff, right? Even though I was telling you before I'm almost on 100 episodes, I still feel as if like it's a fucking effort to put like to get into it, you know what I mean? So anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself and we'll start from there. That's how it is. It always has been.
Yeah.
So let's hear your story.
Yeah, I'm just a normal lad from Liverpool, working class lad. I've used every opportunity I could get to the position I'm in now. Thankfully now I'm in a position where I work for myself. I've got a number of interests financially, a couple of little businesses that I have ticking along. I've also got a career as a journalist and a broadcaster. Originally spent 12 years at the Liverpool Echo, then moved on from there, worked in magazines all over the world, and of late last decade really focused on broadcasting, TV, podcasting, radio, but been fight sports. My entire professional career has been fight sports. Although as a kid I wasn't actually a competitive boxer, I was more of a footballer like most Scousers.
So what was it like growing up and where was you? Whereabouts in Liverpool?
My dad's from Jarrett Gardens in town, my mum's from Toxteth. So when I was born into a house in Asbridge Street off Lodge Lane. Lived there when I was so small I can't really remember it, even though my nan lived there the entire life. She lived in Asbridge Street, so I know Lodge Lane, I know that area from going to visit my nan and whatever. But then we moved to Kempton Road in Wavertree, so I went to school at Lawrence Road. Lived down there when I was a little kid up until about the age of 7 or 8 I think it was, and then we moved to a house up by Picton Clough. So still in Wavertree, but more like Allerton Road End, and I switched to a Mospitz Junior School, and then later on went to the Aldershire Wall Comp, which wasn't the best school in the world, but actually, there's half a dozen lads that come out of there and did well for themselves, So, and the friends I made there are still my best mates now, who I still party with and go out with and socialise with and everything else these days. So yeah, that's I come out of school. I'm one of those rare people that I've got to be honest, I ain't gonna lie. I know you've had some characters on this podcast, Bill, but I loved school, Honestly, I loved it. And that's not because I was the brightest kid in the class, I certainly was far from that. But I just had enthusiasm. I'm a social butterfly. And for me, it sounds mad. I never sagged off school once because I loved going in. The social aspect of it. It wasn't, as I say, it wasn't necessarily the classes, but it was being with all my mates and messing with the girls and having and footy at break time and up to all kinds. Like I might not have been the best sportsman in the school, but I was captain of the football team, captain of the cricket team, captain of the basketball team. If there was a tennis tournament, my name was first down. If there was a school play, my name was first down. Like that was just the kid I was.
So you were quite popular. Do you think being popular, because it sounds to me like you were popular, to be fair, in school, do you think it was it kind of encouraged you to kind of engage a lot more?
Yeah, I think so, 100%. I think popular, not necessarily with all the kids, but I think I was popular with the teachers.
Yeah.
And again, that's not because I was like a swat, but because I had
was you a prefect?
I definitely wasn't a prefect. No, I wasn't that kid, far from it.
And I don't even know if they do it.
I don't even know. I remember in our school there was,
the prefect.
A load of divvies with a little silver badge on with the prefect, which used to marshal the tuck shop queue and all that gear. But no, I was still the kid that used to rob one bars up the tuck shop queue and lash them around the playground. But as I say, it was more of a social thing. I just loved it. And at that time, I didn't realise it then, but I've subsequently been back to the school and I actually met the teacher outside the school and had a cup of coffee with her and we had a great chat. But there was a teacher I met there, an English teacher called Joy Gambardella. And I always remember as a kid, she had this mad velvet, bright purple Benetton hat. and she used to teach us English, and it was her enthusiasm for English and everything about it, whether it was poetry or creative writing or whatever it may be, completely rubbed off on me. And I adored her, and I used to adore her classes. And obviously, little did I know then, that, you know, that kind of played a big role in my career moving forward of becoming a journalist. That storytelling element to life. So yeah, I actually went back a couple of years ago, just before COVID, and went for a coffee with her and stuff, and sat down and just said, listen, you know, you built, you didn't realise it then, but you sowed the seed, and I built a career that's taken me all over the world.
She was still a teacher there after all these years?
Yeah, she was still a teacher there. She'd had a hard time, unfortunately, but she was still a teacher there. She works more like a cover teacher now. I don't think she's full-time, but I know she's still there at Chilwell.
I don't think there's any teachers alive now that I went to school. Yeah, look, I'm a dinosaur. I'm not sure. To be fair, I'm not much older than yourself, but yeah. So, did you come from a big family?
So my dad wasn't necessarily a big family, but you know, they were notorious on Gerard Gardens. You know, the Peets were from Gerard Gardens, and then part of the family were known as Germains as well. It was actually spelled German, but the Jordan Award, he changed the pronunciation to Jermaine, which is funny now.
Hyacinth Bouquet.
Yeah, exactly. My sister, who as you know is an
Lindsay,
actress at the Royal Court, her stage name is Lindsay Germain, as a homage to my dad's family back in the day. So my dad's only one of four, but my mum, actually being a Protestant family, funnily enough, my dad's the Catholic side, my mum's the Protestant side. She's one of seven. She was the big family. Growing up in Toxteth, and she was the youngest of seven, so they're from big families. But no, my mum and dad have been together since they were teenagers, and Lindsay's my only sibling.
Yeah, so I've met Lindsay a few times. Lovely. She's I remember seeing her on was it The Reds and the Blues?
Yeah,
that was hilarious. She played a great role in that, and then she does a lot of singing now, doesn't she?
So you name it, singing. She's the one with the talent in the family, singing, dancing, writing plays.
Is she younger or older?
She's older. She's older than me. Yeah, a couple of years older.
Did you ever feel like, you know, was she sort of like on stage at an early age? Did you ever want to follow suit with her? And
yeah, well, as a kid, obviously, as I said, I had enthusiasm for everything. And Lindsay, when she was a teenager, she quite quickly found out she wanted to get into drama. So she used to go to the Everyman Youth Theatre. So obviously, your sister's going to youth theatre, you're going to youth theatre.
Exactly,
and they dragged me along. So I went there for a couple of years, but I had nowhere near the passion for drama that she had. Because at the time I was just sports mad, sport Billy. You know, I was one of them kids that I was out playing. If it wasn't in school, I was out playing footy, or I was out riding a bike, or I was playing tennis or cricket, or like on the mystery field just by where my mum and dad live is the Liverpool Athletics track. So every summer I'd be there. I'd be getting coached for sprinting and throwing the javelin and the shot put and the high jump. I was just one of them kids, you know. I had my own javelin. And I was
definitely the opposite to you, to be honest, in that, you know, in the athletic kind of arena. I remember there was kids, and they used to do these go like, I don't know what the fuck, the marathons. They used to be marathons, like just running go for the school cross country. Yeah, and they just go for it. I was always at the back. I was always at the back, right? They used to have this. I remember this kid, Christopher Waddle. I don't know where he is or what he's doing with himself now, but he had these big long legs, and he just used to gallop.
You know what I mean? Be away.
Yeah, he was just galloping, and I was thinking, I'm just like these little legs running behind full of mud and everything, just thinking I'm never gonna see that kind of like. And football, I was never good at football, never got picked for the team, Pete. Nick. Never got picked. I was lousy, and I was always in goal, you know. So I was quite the opposite. I was never popular with the teachers. I was always getting the cane. So I'm just trying to look at what the differences was between me and yourself, because you went and had a career, you know, which was quite positive, brilliant. You've done a lot with it, and I kind of went down a different path. Maybe was there any kids in school that you remember that was like kind of struggling?
I think so, yeah. You know, in hindsight, obviously, you look back now and you think, oh, that kid had a hard time. That kid definitely got bullied in our school. And obviously, you self-reflect then, you think, did I do enough? You know, I don't think I was ever the bully, because I've never been the hard case in school, far from it. As I say, you know, I used to take part in all these sports, and I used to be first in the queue for them. I was never the best. I had trials for Liverpool schoolboys when I was about 11 or 12, but that was like the peak of my football career. Even though I played football until I was into my 20s, I never got to that level ever again, because I was never the best at any of these sports. But as I say, I had more enthusiasm than anybody else. Like, I was just up for anything. Like, I remember once, 1 year in seniors, and it was coming up to sports day, exactly like you, Bill. I didn't have the legs for cross country. I've got terrible bow legs, heredity. But so I'm not built for cross country. I'm not really built for sprinting. You know, I've never really been able to do road work because of it. But I thought, sports day coming up, I can't finish last at everything. So that's when I went to the Harriers 1 year. I went, mate, I need to learn how to do the javelin, the shot put, and the high jump. All events that most kids in school didn't want to do. And usually it'd be like, this javelin, right? Javelin, shot put. Where's all the fat kids who can't run? Let's see how far the big fella can throw it. But I thought, right, I'm going to win all them. So I went and got coached specific. This is just my mentality. Yeah. I'm going to win them then. And I did. I'd win like all these mad events. Because to me, I was like, sound, I'm involved, I'm enjoying it. There's no way I'm doing cross country and finishing last. So swerve that, I'll go and do something else. And I think that's something I've always had in my mind. That enthusiasm's there, but I've also got to decide, I want to win. I want to compete. I want to take part. So, but to answer your question, yeah, I think there was some kids that struggled, and there's 1 or 2 lads that have bumped in now later on in life who've got families who still live in a certain area. And, you know, I'll always go over and have a proper conversation with them and stuff. And I always look back and think, you know, as a kid but I was a kid.
Yeah,
you're a kid at the time. You don't realise.
I just felt it was quite humiliating personally for myself, really, you know, because I'd never, I mean, I'm talking last, right? I was last. Never like second to last. I was always last. And I was like, you know, I'd come in, you know, about half an hour behind everyone else. Yeah. And it'd just be like, you know, the deflated, and, you know, how you felt just lousy about things. And, you know, I don't think there's any, like, back then there was any, like, sort of like, at least you done well, at least you had a go. Yeah, you know, of course. Which is probably what it is now. You don't really reward winners anymore now. Now it's like, oh, everyone took part, everyone have a medal. Now, for kids like that at the back, that's probably great. You know what I mean? But then there's also an element of kids at the other end who go, well, what's the point of trying now? There's no winners kind of thing. I'm just picking up on the fact that you love school, to be fair. Yeah, I hated it, you know, it's it, because I hated it. You know, and I used to hear my mum and family members say, oh, it's the best years of your life. And you think, fucking hell, you know, where did you get that from? But, you know, looking back on hindsight and reflecting now, I'd love to have, you know, the opportunity to go back. But that's, you know, of course, that's wishful thinking, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. And maybe things would have changed a little bit better. I've, you know, quite a bit of a dreamer. You know, I always have these mad like thoughts of like going back in time, you know, and then revisiting school with the knowledge that I've got today. Yeah, of course. That'd be fucking great. Exactly, you'd fly, wouldn't you? Yeah. But at the time when you were at school, don't you remember any teacher there that like tapped into you a little bit and went like, he's a dreamer, this kid, let's point him in this direction, whether it might have been art, whether it might have been an element of sport, or for me, as I say, it was an English teacher that could tell I remember one teacher, but it wasn't more sort of guiding me in any direction. It was more like a bit of sympathy and a bit of empathy, you know what I mean? Yeah. And understanding, you know, like a little bit of a let on and acknowledgements. That was about as far as it went. Hey, you're okay, you know, and, you know, you could probably sense that I'd come home, like coming to school, you know, after being home, and there was a bit of trouble, you know, contributing to the way I was behaving. Yeah. Because I was getting the cane all the time. You know, you don't get the cane. Of course. You know, and I wasn't really a naughty kid. Yeah. But yeah, I felt that, you know, growing up, all that contributed to me isolating from everyone. You know, like, whereas you were quite out there, a bit of a social butterfly. Yeah. I was more introvert and like isolated and separated and wanted to be on my own. Right. I think when you're on your own, you're in bad company. Yeah, of course. Because, you know, you've got like intrusive thoughts that come through the back door of your mind, and, you know, they take you to places that you don't really want to go, but you find yourself going down. Yeah. You know, and I see, I've never had the skills or anything in the bank to say, you know, I've got like an opportunity to get a job when I leave school as an apprentice on like a bricklayer and nothing. Yeah. So I agree with you. You know, school is important. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think we've got any kids watching this, but yeah, no, it's mad because there's got to be parents. Obviously, we're both parents now of young kids, and while they're a couple of years away from big decisions and big steps, there's obviously concerns. You know, even as a little kid he is now, he hasn't even started juniors yet. But obviously,
it's funny because I see a lot of my wife in him, and she's, you know, she's not as much as a social butterfly as me. You know, she's far more responsible, far more, you know, emotionally invested in things. I've got this weird personality, and I think it's a bit of a curse because, you know, I empathize so much with people that come from dark places and suffer from depression. And I've spoke to a lot of athletes over the years who've told me these type of stories and that, and obviously, you know, it's difficult for me to comprehend because I've almost got like this Jamaican personality in me where I feel like I'm very laid back. I don't worry about tomorrow. I don't worry about next month. You know, I think that's part of being a freelancer and a business owner, is that the reason I don't have sleepless nights necessarily is because I don't overly concern myself about where the business is going to be in 3 months, where that's happening, what's happening.
You're in the moment most of the time.
I'm 100% in the moment all the time. Well, I think that's a bit of a gift, to be honest with you. No one ever taught me that. No. But I just feel like I'm very lucky with that kind of mindset.
No, it definitely is a gift because I've read books on on self-awareness and Eckhart Tolle and the power of now, and I've gone through a whole like library of like how to kind of cope with being in the moment and not, you know, living in the past or worrying about the future or I've had all that. Now, for me, it's like, you know what, I've got to a stage in my life where I feel really like relaxed with myself. I've got to a stage where I like myself.
Yeah, that's the most important
thing. And like yourself, don't worry.
Yeah.
About, come on, mate, look where you've been.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in my car this morning thinking, and there was a brief moment where I thought, I haven't got this, you haven't got that, and I've got to worry about this. And then I thought, you know what, Bill? You're sitting in a car that you paid for, right? You've got a roof over your head. You've got food in the cupboards. You've got people who love you. Like 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, you know, you were in prisons. You know, you were living in a bungalow on the floor in your mum's.
Yeah.
You know, with a tag. Come on. Get a grip.
Yeah.
You know, so when I focus on that, instead of worrying about what I haven't got, or what the future may or may not hold, you know, then I ground myself.
Of course.
You know, it's like you said, you're gifted. It takes a talent. It's not easy, and there's a lot of people out there, and you know, a lot of people send questions and answers, and you know, say you're inspiring and what you do is great. It's not. It's just practice.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like we're not all gifted with that way of life.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it. You know, I genuinely don't feel like I'm gifted academically or anything like that. My gift is that I believe my positive attitude, I'll tackle anything, have a go at anything, and I'll work my plums off to get what I want. Yeah. And I've proven that during my life. You know, I left school, did a couple of A-levels, you know, come through that, and then found myself on a journalism course, which I shouldn't have been on. I blagged my way onto a journalism course saying I had the degree and I didn't. But finished the course, got a job. But then that job paid, you know, I had to do the job for a year first for free. So I'm stacking shelves at Tesco's 5 nights a week to get this journalism thing off the ground. Then they offered me a full-time contract, $8,000 a year. So I'm still stacking shelves in Tesco's, even though I'm now a journalist. Then I finally got a job where I could give up the Tesco's and driving pizza vans and all kinds, so I could actually be a journalist full time. But straight away, like the whole journalism thing, I stumbled across it. You know, and I've told this story before. I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I'd done a couple of A-levels. Thought, well, I may as well do an English degree then. I guess that's what I'll do. But I had no idea about a profession because I was just getting my head around the fact that I wasn't going to be a professional footballer. The party scene that kicked off in Liverpool. I'm 16, 17 years of age. I'm going the Hard Dock or the Drome every weekend with all the lads. I'm having the time of my life every weekend. So the reality of being able to sit down and go, right, what are you going to do the rest of your life? Didn't even enter me train of thought. Again, I'm living for today. What happens tomorrow happens tomorrow. And then I went to the Colquitt Street College in town because my mate was trained to be a chef because all the hairdressers were there. And I thought, I'll go on the pub, get fed for nothing. Genuinely, that's why I went. So I'm there trying to catch some girl's eyes. I'm getting something to eat, whatever it is. And I was wandering around the college and I just see the sign saying journalism unit. And this woman walked out called Sandy Felton. She'd worked for The Guardian for years. I don't know whether she's still there at Liverpool College, but she come out and she said, are you looking for this class? And I said, no. She went, what are you up to? I said, I'm going to do it. I've just finished my A-levels. I'm going to do an English degree. I don't know. And she went, have you thought about journalism? And I was like, no, I'm not really. And she went, well, what are you into? I said, well, sport. I want to be a footballer. I want to do this. I love boxing. I love this. I love that. And she literally in that moment went, why don't you be a sports journalist? And it was like lightning in a bottle. It was like someone had just gone, there's the Holy Grail there. And I just went, wow. She went, you can do the two things you love, English and sport, make a life out of it. And that was it.
You love a little bit of boxing as well, don't you?
Yeah, so the boxing thing, when I was a kid, my dad had taken me, I played football at junior level, at a decent level. And I remember my dad taking me to Wavertree ABC. So this was probably...
Stanley Pieces there back then?
I think so, yeah. There was a few there. I think... Bellew popped in there early doors as well, in the early days before he eventually found his way to Rotunda, because Bellew's brother was in my class. Bellew went to the same school as me, so I've always been close with Anthony and his whole family, to be honest with you. But my dad had taken me to Wavertree ABC anyway when I was a kid, and I'd loved boxing because my cousin Carl Teasdale had boxed in the ABAs. My dad had taken me to the Garden Festival when I was a proper little kid to watch him in the ABAs, and ever since then we'd always stay up and watch the boxing together or whatever. If it was on in Liverpool, he'd take me down. So he took me to Wavertree ABC, more to get me a bit stronger on the ball to play footy. I went down there and doing the training, I'm hitting the bags, I'm skipping, I'm jumping over the bar, everything that the kids do, and I loved it. So my dad's like, bought me some gloves and everything. Typical me, like I had a tennis racket, a cricket bat, you name it, I had the lot.
Sport Billy.
Yeah, exactly. Right, here's your boxing gloves, great. I'm going backwards and forwards. And then, I don't remember it, but my dad tells the story, like, you went one week and he went, right, we're sparring this week. He said, and you're like all enthusiastic still. He said, next thing you know, a couple of lads go in the ring, start punching holes in each other. And my dad said, I turned around and you were great. Me arse had just fell out my chest. What the fuck?
And you'd even got in yet?
So at that point I hadn't got in, no. Yeah. But at that point it became very real then. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I took my little lad to see the Four Nations MMA Championships at the weekend at the Expo in Liverpool where I see you, Bill. Yeah. And my little lad's been training wrestling and Muay Thai for the last couple of years. But this is the first time, and he's seen me watching bits of UFC and boxing, but it's the first time he'd seen MMA live, literally sitting, touching distance from the cage. Yeah. And funnily enough, I was explaining to my wife, I looked at him halfway, we'd been there about 10 minutes, and I looked at him, and he was just great. Suddenly the realisation of, oh my God, getting punched and kicked in the face here. This is what I do, but I kick a pad and these are kicking each other in the face. Yeah. And his bottle went a little bit, so come on, we'll go for a little walk. And it kind of reminded me of the story my dad says about me. So I found a way to not go back to boxing gym then. I was like, oh no, I need to do this. And but I was always a fan of boxing. I always loved it. And it was actually later on in my life, my late teens, early 20s, when I finally got the balls to walk back into a boxing gym and, and do a bit of sparring. But yeah, it's always been kind of ingrained in me. My dad played footy with Alan Levine. Mm. Alan Levine was a good pro from Liverpool, and Alan Levine was supposed to be on the Eubank versus Ben undercard at Old Trafford. So all the lads in the footy team got a big caravan. He got a load of tickets, and my dad got me one. And I remember going to that fight at Old Trafford, and Nigel Benn walked out, and I'm like, oh, Dad, I'm Nigel Benn. This is amazing. It's on the back of my neck and everything. And then Chris Eubank walks out to Simply the Best, and I'm like, oh, Dad, I'm Chris Eubank. And I did that throughout the entire 12 rounds because it was a draw in the end, but it went one way and then the other. And my dad went, you changed allegiances about 15 times during the fight. But I genuinely think that was another one of those moments where I was infatuated with boxing, with football, and I enjoyed boxing. But that night, it flipped for me. That night, I became infatuated with boxing because I was like...
Because you're looking at all the old videos there back.
Oh yeah, exactly. My dad had videos and stuff like that, and obviously Tyson was at his peak and all that stuff. Yeah. There was all that going on. But I think experiencing that at Old Trafford, being in that atmosphere, but more than anything, I was a season ticket holder then. My mum's eldest brother, my Uncle H, God rest his soul, he used to take me to match every weekend because my dad was down here. He played at the Jacobs. My dad played good level amateur footy, so I used to go with my Uncle H to the match. And I loved Liverpool. I loved football, but never in my mind did I ever think I could never do that. I used to think, you know what, if I hadn't, you know, started going clubbing with the lads, or found out what my dick was for, or found beer, maybe I'd have had the focus to play for Liverpool one day. And I still in my heart of heart think, if I had Steven Gerrard's mentality, I probably could have made it. You know what I mean? I just didn't have the mentality to, no, sacrificing everything, this is what I'm going to do. I could have made it as a footballer. I can genuinely say that. On a pitch with 10 other fellas, I could have done that. Yeah. Fight sports, genuinely hand on heart, I can't do what they do. And that's why I love them so much. That's what makes me so passionate about fighting. Because I look at prize fighters, whether it's MMA or boxing, and go, mate, you're not built like I'm built. To walk into a ring or a cage in front of millions of people at home with the bright lights on, naked, practically naked, and fist fight another man with all the risks involved, the chance of being knocked out in 5 seconds, all that. I'm not built like that. I don't have the minerals in me. And I'm happy to say that, because I'm 99.9% of the population. We're not built that way. Yeah. As much as I love it, as much as I love training, as much as I love sparring, I couldn't do it on a big stage. And that's where the fascination with fight sports really took over my life. And then, as you say, once that collided with journalism, it was only ever going to go one way.
See, I think I had a bit of an advantage really growing up, especially at home. You know, there was a lot of violence, and I was subjected to like violence, not only within the home but within school. Yeah. You know, so I was getting hit, so I felt them punches, and then I think it was more about impressing my dad and trying to, you know, like look for a bit of acknowledgement from him. And he used to claim, you never seen him fight, never seen him box, never seen him spar, never even seen him put a pair of gloves on, to be honest, Nick. But he used to have ring magazines.
Right.
You know, with like Alan Minter and all the old school, John Conte. He used to love all them. He used to have posters. And I thought, if I join this boxing club, I might get some kind of acknowledgement from us, or something. Mm-hmm. You know, and I went, and the first thing I remember, Paul King, right? There was Paul King. He was my coach. The first day I went, these fucking massive gloves, the lace-up ones. Yeah. Put them on. It stunk of sweat in the gym. There was posters all over the gaff. I remember like the likes of like Leon Spinks and fucking Bone Crusher Schmidt and all that. You know, were on the wall.
Was the gym? Where was it?
It was the Gemini, but it was the Saint. Right, okay. It was actually called the St Ambrose ABC. Right. So it was predated Gemini, and it was like I was really young. Gloves on, and we just got straight in the ring for a spar. And all I remember getting told after that fight, I remember it quite well, was you've got a great guard by Paul King. Right, and I thought, that's all I've ever done, because I put my hands up getting battered. I fucking didn't want to get it. He said, you've got a great guard, we'll work on that. Yeah. And we'll work on, and that was where my kind of love. I tried a little bit of karate, you know, because Bruce Lee was out back then, Enter the Dragon and Fist of Fury, and you know, we all went to this Keon Cassis Shota gym, and my cousin was like getting belts left, right and centre, and I couldn't get past the white one, so I just kind of swerved it because it was more routine and it wasn't a bit of me. But like yourself, boxing, like physically it was an escape, and mentally it kind of helped me cope with a few things. And I love watching. I used to love like after the 8 Man in Air, Mike Tyson would come on early hours in the morning, because it was on the telly back then. It was right. We never had like Sky or nothing. It was 3 or 4 in the morning. You waited up and you watched a fight that lasted like a round. Yeah, exactly. You're like, fuck, I've been up all fucking night here. He's got in the ring and he's just knocked out this fella with it. You knew,
but it was worth it. It was worth it staying up for that 1 minute.
Yeah, but so that was the kind of where it kind of went for me. You know. And I like the likes. I started looking at the likes of like Roberto Duran and Marvin Hagler, and you know, like the whole Sugar Ray. You know, they would clash.
Well, Sugar Ray's my favourite fighter of all time. Like Sugar Ray Leonard.
Have you met him?
I'm lucky enough to met him a couple of times. Yeah, I've done a couple of dinners with him. I used to do some stuff with what's his name, John. The ex-British champion.
John.
No.
John Lyons.
No, based out London lad who lives in Liverpool. That'll come to me. We used to do dinners together and stuff. Won a world title actually, but we used to do dinners around Liverpool. As I used to do some Q&A for him. No.
We're going through all the Johns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there was a few: Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns. Been lucky enough to compare and do Q&As on a few of their dinners. That was all while I was at the Liverpool Echo. When I first got to the Echo, I was a football and boxing journalist. I did both. I covered whoever was at home, Liverpool or Everton. I covered them, and then at the weekends I would cover the boxing. But then, you know, after a couple of years, I even did Istanbul as a journalist. But after a couple of years, I had to give up on the boxing because they were just driving me mad. And it was my love for boxing was diminishing because I knew more about the clubs, the players, the people who work there. And, you know, they're not there for the good of the club, they're there for the good of themselves, like in most big business. And me enjoyment diminished. I'm back on the cop these days, back with me season ticket out to the press box, and I fucking love it again, going to match with the lads.
You've got this natural ability, because I've watched a lot of your stuff. I see you know, your commentary and the way you speak with the likes of, you know, is it Bisping?
Yeah.
All that. And I'm like, fucking hell, there's our Nicky, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
He's on the telly, he's talking with these big hits. But, you know, you've got this natural, like, way of, like, communicating, right? And I think to myself, I wish I could fucking do that.
I think it's nothing I've, like, sat down and thought about. I just kind of, I look at people, when we grew up watching sport on TV with Des Lynam and all that, it was like
big mussies,
the jackets and the big mussies and the sports jackets. Hello, welcome to Sports Round, and like, even now there's a lot of commentators and pundits out there that you want to go, mate, you're living your fucking dream there. You're getting paid to talk about boxing, you're getting paid to talk about footy. Smile, enjoy yourselves. There's a reason why the likes of Carragher and Neville are smashing it now. It's because they're fun to watch. They're taking the piss out of each other. They're not taking themselves too serious. So when someone give me an opportunity to do some telly or do some radio, I'm not then going to suddenly go dead formal. I just need to be me and show how passionate I am. I'm here because I love it. And then there's a responsibility now, I feel, when I work with BT, when we talk about UFC all the time. You know, I'm sitting with, usually, I've got Adam Catchell, who's my business partner, who for me is best sports presenter in the UK, bar none. I'm so lucky that we met each other. Yeah. And on the other side, I've got Michael Bisping, the only ever Brit to win a UFC title and a current Hall of Famer. So he knows more about the fight game technicalities than me. And he flies a ship better than anybody in the world. So you've got to, at that moment, you go, what's my role then? What's my job? Well, my job is to tell narratives. My job is to sell the fights and sell the fighters themselves. This is the backstory. This is where they came from. This is where they're going. But also, I feel like I'm a voice of the fans. Put a fan in my seat who, okay, you know, and a lot of fans do hit me up and go, mate, you're the luckiest cunt in the world. I could do your job. Yeah. Mate, no doubt, sound. It took me 20 years to get here. It took me 20 years to get this lucky. You know what I mean? People
you go, put a camera in front of them. I'm telling you
exactly,
now.
Yeah.
You put a phone in front of someone.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, like myself, I'll have to re-edit stuff because I didn't like the way I said that. I should have said that. I said that. Just one word will go a bit. But you've got this like natural way of communicating. Which
I don't know whether that might be the drama. It might be a little bit of Lindsay rubbing off on me. You know,
I'm quite envious.
It's not. I don't get stage fright, if you like. And there's two reasons why. One, I'm confident. I'm happy in my own skin. You know what I mean? I'm not the best looking fella in the world. I'm not the worst looking fella in the world. I've got a wife and 2 kids. I'm the happiest person in the world when it comes at home. You know what I mean? I'm so happy with my life, and I'm so lucky to have the life that I have. That I'm comfortable with who I am, and also I know the material. Yeah. No one has to tell me, oh, such and such is fighting this weekend, go and study it. Yeah. I don't have to study it because that's my passion. I love it. So you throw a fighter's name at me, throw a fight at me, I can talk confidently about them fighters straight away because I don't need to do research. I do this. I watch this stuff.
You're knowledgeable about it. I love it. Yeah. It's see, like you put me in that arena, I can talk about like a lot of things where I'm quite confident in it. Yeah. Right. I know what it is for me. You put me on a stage, which I've done loads of times, and I've got these events coming up, and I've just done one recently with Carlton Leach, and it went really well. But I'll tell you something now. Initially, sat there, the mic's an audience, a massive audience, by the way, sitting there all expecting me to deliver this live podcast. Yeah, entertain me. Right. And I'm and it takes me a moment, but once I'm on a roll, that's it. There's no stopping me. And then, you know, the guest, he's got his character and he's bringing something to the table. And I've got one next week in Marvin Abbey. You know, Marvin. Marvin's got you a ticket, by the way. Yeah. Mega. But yeah, so there's another. So we're building something. We're building on something. But I'm trying. Not. I wouldn't say trying is the word. I'm just like, I know what I'm talking about, and I think, well, if you know what you're talking about, you're going to be okay. Yeah. So if I hit you with a name like Paddy the Baddy, where do you think Paddy's going to be going in the future with the UFC?
The very top. He's a superstar. He's an absolute superstar, you know, and he reminds me so much of Conor McGregor, because Conor McGregor wasn't the best fighter I've ever seen.
No.
Technically, he's not the best out there, but Conor McGregor understood fight sports more than any athlete I've probably known my entire 20-year career. He gets it. He's in the same bracket of the likes of Naz, and in some ways a little bit, Bellew always got it. You know, I've known Anthony my entire life, and I know him as Anthony, and I know his family, and he's Anthony, you know. But his entire career, he was Tony the Bomber Bellew.
Yeah.
He would turn it on because he understood, and he had a roadmap to how he was going to get out of that bed-sit in Old Swan that I used to visit him in when he had 2 broken hands and worked in a factory, to becoming a self-made guy with plenty of money in the bank. And he's one of, you know, thankfully he's one of a few fighters that I've covered from this region that have gone all the way. Like, funny you mentioned before, Paul King. I need to pay respect to Paul King in my own way. So when I got into the Echo and was covering boxing, mostly amateur boxing, but I caught the back end of like Shane Neary's career, who I adore and love. I've got so much respect for what he did for me. Andy Olligan, you know, Conte had retired by then. Ocko had just retired, but there was
Quigley,
like... there was a few. Yeah, that was all... Well, they were the generation that came through with me. Yeah. So I've just got onto the Echo Sports desk. I'm looking to cover all this great boxing. I've got an amateur roster that includes the likes of Quigley, Dodson, the Smith brothers, David Price, Tony Bellew, Derry Matthews. I'm absolutely spoilt. And the reason I'm spoilt is because Paul King is the only boxing coordinator employed by a regional council in the UK. And Paul King is working his bollocks off to give this city and its boxers and its gyms every opportunity they could possibly get. There's a reason why we had that golden generation. And I was just lucky enough to come along as the boxing journalist to cover the journeys of that golden generation. Then that golden generation over the last decade has turned pro and become a golden generation of Liverpool fighters in the pro ranks. So many world titles. Like just the Smith brothers alone would have been a gift for me to be able to cover the careers of 4 never been done before. 4 brothers that conquer the world as amateurs and then pros. World title belts, millions of dollars earned, like incredible. But it wasn't just them. I had so many others as well. And Kingy played a huge role in that. So I can't thank him enough. Again, it's like my career, when you look back, there's loads of circumstances like that when you go, I was in the right place at the right time. Do you know what I mean? I was passionate and I loved it and I wanted it to work, and I was in the right place at the right time. But I was at the Echo. I wasn't earning great money. I was earning junior journalist money. But then every weekend I'd go to a show. Now the Echo wouldn't go, oh, where'd you go this week, Nick? Oh, you went down to London to watch boxing? Yeah, I'll give you your train ticket. They'd be like, what are you going to London for? We never told you to go to London. So I'm paying for that. So then it got to a point where I was like, I can get press passes everywhere. I'll apply to Vegas, see what happens. So I'm applying for Floyd Mayweather versus Shane Mosley in Las Vegas.
Oh, you get a bout, like, don't you?
And then I'm getting, there's your press pass. Shit, how the fuck do I get to Vegas? Buy the cheapest flight possible, stay in the cheapest room possible. I go to Vegas on my own for 4 or 5 days, come back, cover the fight. Echo, I'll give you 300 words. What the fuck, 300 words on Floyd Mayweather? So I'm invested. What I understood then is, like a lot of these boxers that have made it, I invested in my career. I'm spending my money instead of having a better quality of life at home and buying this car and putting money down on a flat. Yeah. I'm taking my wages to cover regional boxing, but I'm investing in me. I'm covering world title fights on different continents. So then I'm contacting bigger outlets to go, I'm going to that, by the way, do you want 200 words? So one of the national newspapers might go, yeah, we'll give you 50 quid. Meanwhile, I'm dropping, $1,000. But it didn't matter, because for me, I'm getting my name out there as a respectable journalist in this industry. And they're the shortcuts that people don't realise. I invested in myself.
Well, you've grown, like, massively since I first met you in Radio City when we were on the Fight Disciples. And
when we first started,
you invited me to come along, and, and then, you've just exploded on the scene. Next thing you're in Vegas, you're sitting next to these big hitters, you're reporting on this, you're communicating about that, you're all over social media on the set. It's like, fucking hell. Yeah. How massive is that? How fast did that go? And like you said, it's about investing in yourself. And I feel as if you believe in yourself, or even like you've got someone who believes in you, like your teacher did, and offered you that opportunity. I think that's what we're lacking in Liverpool, like the belief in each other.
Of course.
Or like
we're quick to support each other
yeah.
to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Our Scousers, we stand together, all that caper. But actually, when you get down to the nitty gritty, there's few Scousers that'll give one another a leg up.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I've come across?
Everyone's in it for themselves, like, and that's a hard place to be. I remember little mantras from family members when I was a kid. Never say no to something for nothing and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, it never really rubbed off on me. That was not really the way I was brought up. But then I was brought up by a mum and dad who were fully working class, worked a lot of long hours, and actively pushed me and Lindsay towards drama, actively pushed us towards sport, supported us. So I've always had that incredible base, which I'm so lucky for. And then thankfully now, I've got a wife that we were married, we had a baby, another one on the way, and I sat with her and said, listen, this podcast thing's flying and it doesn't make any money. It's only a year in, but I think I'm going to jack my job. I was editor of an international magazine, so because I need to invest more time in this and opportunities in broadcasting, TV. I need to put myself out there. At the moment, I'm tied to this 9 to 5. I need to break those shackles and take a chance. Yeah. And it was my wife that went, go for it. And the first year or two, her income basically supported our family.
And it's hard. Yeah.
It's hard because you're a red-blooded male and you're like, there's my bit in the pot. Yeah. And she's putting the big bit in and you're a bit like, oh, fucking hell. But I believed in myself, and more importantly, she believed in me as well. So now when I'm going to Vegas and I'm doing this and I'm going to Vegas next month, then I'm coming back, going to Abu Dhabi, going here, going there. And she laughs now and she's like, fucking hell, I've created a monster here, aren't I? You're never home. But now I put the big slice in, and that's, you know what I mean? It makes life so much better. We've got a good life now, a comfortable life. But she's been such an important part. Again, you can never do anything on your own. No. And as I say, I was fortunate to be in a golden generation of athletes. I'm fortunate to have the family that I've got. I'm incredibly fortunate to have the wife that I've got. And then my other stroke of fortune was the accidental meeting I had with Adam Catchell, who we set up Fight Disciples with. Adam was a Radio 1 DJ. He's flying. He's got this whole commercial career. And then one day he decides he wants to move into sports, go back to his love. And he starts covering the Olympic Games, covers the boxing at the Olympic Games, rekindles this love of boxing he's had his whole life. Walked away from Radio 1 to do a brief stint on Radio City as a sports jock, just to get us, because he was doing stuff at TalkSport, but he was just getting going. And it was in that literally months period that I happened to go in and be a guest on his show. And then we clicked. It's
what it is, and it's meeting the right people at the right time. Like, I love your passion, and I've just shared what you've just shared there, because for me it was like that drive, that never giving up, that perseverance, resilience. And it was like I knew that all that stuff that I'd been subjected to and I put myself through for years and years and years was not the person that was behind all that. Yeah. And once I said it yesterday to someone, I said, look, I've been I've been clean for 5 years, I haven't used a drug, I haven't drank, I haven't smoked, remained totally abstinent. And in them 5 years, nothing's happened, in the sense of like I haven't been arrested.
Yeah. No chaos.
There's no chaos, there's no one knocking at your door, I haven't been like struggling financially, I haven't been unmanageable with my affairs. I've kind of been responsible, accountable. I've turned up, and this podcast, I've set this up on my own. I always do. My partner, she does all the editing. She's great. She's done a crash course, right, Nick? She's done a crash course with a brother in a day.
Amazing,
right? Now she's got all the grip there, and she loves it.
Brilliant.
She loves the editing. She loves the cutting. She loves. And yeah, it's just like we work together as a team. I set up, I introduce the guest, and I love that. Sometimes I'll be honest, I was like, like there's a couple of weeks where they haven't done a podcast, haven't shut one up. I start like getting a little bit complacent, to think I can't be asked.
Yeah,
and then the guest list goes down and down, because you always have a few in the bank.
Of course,
you've got to have a few, like 3 or 4 in the bank.
Yeah,
so there's a month ahead.
Yeah.
Because they're every week, these. They're not like once a month, it's every week.
You've got to.
So I've got like 4 in the bank, and then I think it's 3, then it's 2, then I panic. Bam. So like now, done one yesterday, done one today, I'm going to get one next week, going to try and get a few more. Then I feel a little bit more secure.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, the travelling as well, the logistics. You know, great that I'll have to mention this. We've got a sponsor called, you know, KR Couriers and Transport Limited. He looks after, you know, the overheads, the transport, all that. It's great. That never happened from day one. You know, I was touting a little bit of business for 50 quid an episode and stuff like that. And now it's gone. It's gone. It goes a little bit more now. So I appreciate, Roger, you know, it is acknowledged massively.
We did Fight Disciples for 2 years, and we got shortlisted at the British Podcast Awards for Best Sports Show, and we went down to London. It was the night AJ fought Klitschko. Me and Adam tossed the coin, and he went to Klitschko and I went to the Podcast Awards, and I was like, fuck's sake, bastard. So I'm at the Podcast Awards with our producer Mike, and comes to the sports section, and like they read them all out, and it's like the Guardian's version of this and the BBC's that and this and that. Oh, and they may as well have just said, oh, and the ragasses from the Fight Disciples, you fucking do it between the three of them, and up the top of the tower in Liverpool. And then they just went, but by far the best show, Fight Disciples. I'm like, fucking hell, the shock.
And was that something you wasn't expecting?
Not at all. We just thought, mate, might get a bevy out of this. Happy days. And then we won it, and it was just like massive. And we goes to the after party, and then there's all these advertisers and, you know, podcast agents, if you like, all over us like a rash because they knew we were independent. And by now Adam had come to meet us and stuff, and we were having a bevy, and he said, what do you reckon? I said, it's up to you, man. I said, you know, we started this as for shits and giggles, and we've got what we should do now is use it as an opportunity to advertise ourselves to the likes of BT Sport, Talk Sport, BBC, and oh, they're fucking good. They know the stuff. And that's ultimately that's what it led to. But we just went, you know what? Let's just say no to everyone tonight. Fuck them. So we walked around. We was going, nah, mate, not interested in money. Nah, we're not interested in having an agent. See you later. Carried on for another year. And by now, we're not looking at numbers. That's the worst thing you can do if you've got a podcast. Don't look at your numbers because it'll drive you mad. First 2 or 3 years, don't even think about your numbers. Do it because you love it. Otherwise, you can't do it thinking, I'm going to make a living out of this. You got to do it because you love it. And then the next year, shortlisted again. We go as mob-handed now. Okay, I've got a taste of this. We wins it again. So we back-to-back Best Sports Show once again. Oh, we can do this for you. We can do that for you. Such and such want to meet you and blah, blah. And then by then, we'd had conversations with BT. So we were making money off the podcast, but not off the podcast, if you know what I mean. The podcast had opened doors for us to make wages elsewhere. And we were like, fuck it, man, let's just stay as we are. Let's just keep going. And it was probably about 4 or 5 years before we started actually monetizing Fight Disciples. And that allowed us to build up like a huge audience. We're by far the biggest independent fight sports podcast in the UK, probably Europe. You know, we do great numbers now. We've got this incredibly loyal fan base, listenership, I should say. And it's only the last 18 months or so we start taking advertising money.
Is it visual on YouTube or is it?
We started putting it on YouTube over the last 12, 18 months. It used to just be 100% audio. Yeah. We started putting it on YouTube now, just because people were like, "Oh, come on, lads, do a YouTube thing."
Yeah, because it's a bit more. There's a bit more character then, isn't it? When you see that.
Exactly. And we used to always laugh, going like, people don't realise, as close as me and Adam are, and obviously he's basically my best mate now, and we don't speak to each other over the weekend when the fights are on. We don't message backwards and forwards going, oh, what do you think? Because that's going to take something away from the show on a Monday morning. Yeah. Chances are I might speak to him on a Friday, unless we're out the country with each other, but we're at home. I might speak to him on a Friday. I won't even text him until Monday morning when I get a message going, just sent you a link for the Zoom. We jump on and we just go straight into it. And that way it's reactive. I don't know what he's going to say, doesn't know what I'm going to say, I don't know what he thought of the fight, don't know what I thought of the fight, how I scored it. And that just works for us. And we've, honest to God, hand on heart, we've one take pretty much every show from the very beginning. That's it.
And it's like, this is the shame, this is one take, there's no way, there's no way this apart from going for the patient, that's fine. What was your view, what was your opinion, right? Because I recently interviewed this guy, Jack Cattle.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
Fighting Josh Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I thought he got fucking totally robbed. Yeah. Be honest, in your humble opinion.
I was ringside on the night. I scored it on the night. I thought Jack Cattle won it by 3 or 4 rounds on the night. I thought he won it comfortably. And, we did a big thing on Fight Disciples in hindsight where we tried to speak to everybody involved in the fight. And we spoke to most people from managers, promoters, broadcasters, the fighters themselves. You know, we kind of do the big expose. We even spoke to the board of control because there was a fundamental issue there in how that fight was scored. That's a fact.
It robbed them of a lot of fucking opportunities.
And you know what? You know, on the night you think Cattle's the biggest loser, Taylor's the biggest winner. And as usual, most people in boxing go, oh, well, there's a show next week, let's go. Yeah. And it was that first big event where we felt like we had a strong enough voice to go, nah, fuck that. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about what the fuck has just gone on. Yeah. Because there's a fundamental issue. And then as we done an investigation into the whole fight and how the fight was set up and who set the fight up, the issues then were quite clear that there was multiple governing bodies with multiple say. Each one of this is why we have a campaign called Bin the Belts. Get rid of every fucking belt in boxing. Because it's the worst thing in boxing. Because every single governing body has a different criteria on how to score a fight. And don't forget, all the belts were on the line that night. Then you've got the issue that the British Boxing Board of Control, they've got a different criteria on how you score a fight. So most boxing fans aren't aware of that. Each governing body has a different criteria. Let that sink in. What the fuck does that mean? Do you know what I mean? You think you watch boxing and go, well, I know to score boxing. 10-8, it's the 10-9 must system, man. It's obvious. You hit him more than him. The WBA, they recognise sportsmanship. What the fuck does that even mean? Whereas the WBC, it's more focused on attack. But we compare it now with MMA so much because the MMA has got a unified set of rules. Every organisation follows it. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Unified set of rules are the rules that the referee and the judges are abiding by. So with that, you can watch any MMA fight and go, actually, according to the unified rules, which say score for X, Y, Z, I think that judge has got it wrong. Because he hasn't followed the X, Y, Z. He's done something else. Yeah. But in boxing, this is something we hear all the time. He likes what he likes. He scores what he likes. How can you have a sport like that? No. Do you know what I mean? Imagine having a sport where it's up to the referee as an individual to go, well, I don't like it when guys throw under punches. I like it when guys throw 2 punches and they both land. That's not a specific criteria. Because what does that do then, Bill? It opens itself up for corruption. Can the judges be corrupted? Well, yeah, because a judge can go, well, there's my scorecard. Fucking hell, lad. You seen that? Hey, I scored what I like. And bear in mind that the judges are put in place by the promoter. The promoter pays the flight. The promoter pays the hotel. So the promoter pays the wages. So when someone like Josh Taylor, who's promoted by Top Rank, who had the fight in Glasgow, it was their fight, wins a highly controversial decision, there's always going to be stink around it. Because you go, I didn't score it like that. 90% of fans didn't score it like that. The worst thing for me about that whole event is, and I've got some regrets now the way we covered it, because we went fucking hammer and tongue. And I think we threw a little bit of fuel on the fire. And that fire was burning on Josh Taylor's doorstep. And that's not fair. Yeah. Josh Taylor didn't score the fight, but he took a lot of shit over that. And that's my only thing I regret. Now, I've never blamed Josh Taylor, and to this day I still don't blame Josh Taylor. Maybe as the way he responded afterwards could have been handled better. But Jack Catchall should have been the undisputed champion of the world that night in Glasgow. And everyone without any kind of allegiances or any kind of sway could see that. The fact it wasn't scored that way highlights that boxing is still in a bad place, man. And it hampers the sport. Like, listen, I love boxing. Boxing and MMA are my life. I want them to be bigger than the fucking World Cup, bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the Champions League final. Because guess what? If it gets like that, I'll make even more money. I'll have more opportunities. I'll be able to provide better for my family if every event is like a Conor McGregor fight. But it'll never get there because fans tune into boxing and go, I've had this amazing fight this weekend. 2 Brits, first time ever, undisputed title fight in the UK. Both crackers, one's undefeated. This guy from Manchester, he stepped aside to allow the guy from Scotland to unify the belts. Didn't even take money. How boss is that? Now he's paying the favour back by letting him have the undisputed fight. I can't wait to see this. It's going to be a cracker. Everyone's talking about it. Then you watch it as a mainstream fan who's got a passing interest in boxing. With a basic understanding, you go, well, clearly the lad from Manchester's punched him in the face more. Even the commentary team are telling me he's punched him in the face more. Wow, this belt's changing hands. And the scorecards go up and you go, why the fuck do I bother with boxing?
That's kind of what happens. Where do you bother?
Yeah, but MMA doesn't have that problem. No. That's not to say every decision in MMA is bob on. Listen, judges have an off night. Judges have a bad view. But at least you can sit a judge down in MMA and go, do us a favour, Bill. Just talk us through your score there, that 30-27. And you go, well, X, Y, Z. And you go, well, actually, Bill, in that second round, according to the rule set, this, and this. And you can go, oh, shit, I missed that. No probs. Sound. And it's
so you can work with each other.
You can improve. You can you can get educated. You can get better. Yeah. Or you can pull... But in boxing, because your simple answer would be, fuck you, Nick, I like what I like.
There's loads of that in boxing, isn't it? There's loads of like unfair decisions. That.
How big could boxing be if it was just more transparent? If everyone was singing off the same song sheet? And again, it wouldn't mean we don't get bad decisions. That would still happen. But at least the decision would be more consistent, and at least you could sit a referee down and go, or a judge, down and go, you got it wrong tonight, because the letter of the law is this. Yeah. Not because what you want to see. So hopefully one day that will change. If that changes in my lifetime, if the British Boxing Board of Control, the athletic departments in Las Vegas, the California, the New York, if all these strong governing bodies, and as much as I hate to say it, the belts, WBA, WBC, IBF, and the likes of Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren, and all these leading promoters and all these governing bodies, if they just went, listen, boys, we could fucking smash the back doors out of this if we all just agree on one defined set of rules for every judge on every continent. Yeah, we all agree? Sound, man. This will do good for numbers, and it would.
That doesn't work like that, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So what's the next biggest fight coming up that you're going to be commentating on?
UFC London's coming up in July. If it's anything like March, it'll be absolutely astronomical.
You got the same teams back on, haven't you? Got UFC, you've got Molly McCann.
Molly's on there. Absolutely love Molly to bits.
She's fucking incredible.
Absolutely love her. She's just an incredible individual. Everything about her. Her backstory is just heartbreaking, but she's a diamond that's come out of a real deep mine, and this is what Liverpool and many working class cities can do.
She was on the verge, weren't she, of like, fucking hell, they're going to call her off here because, and I remember the first podcast I did with her, and she had a fight coming up and she got beat, and it was like the second loss, and I thought, fucking hell, she can't take another one of these, and then she's just come back.
Well, that was the next fight was the last fight on a contract.
Yeah,
the UFC don't do that.
No.
The UFC don't let you get down to your last fight if they want to keep you. You get down to your last fight, guess what? That means you lose, mate. You don't get a phone call tomorrow. Yeah. But she didn't lose. She won in spectacular fashion. So then the UFC go, bang, there you go, girl, new contract. And then because of the exposure...
do you only get, is it 3-fight contracts they give you?
It depends who you are, really. I'm sure Conor McGregor's committed to bigger than 3-point contracts over his career. But I think, in fact, Jim Miller, who's a veteran, he's just got a 4 or 5 fight contract. So it just depends who you are, basically. But, when you're in the position that Molly was in, who, a prelim fight, it's hard for the girls, you see, because there's not that much competition.
Yeah.
So you do well domestically. You probably say you're getting signed by the UFC, but then the leap up in class is fucking massive. Molly was never going to go undefeated in the UFC. She just didn't have the experience to do it. She was the best in this country because of Cage Warriors sound. But when she went to the UFC, she's going to have to take some losses because that's got to learn.
Yeah.
Slightly different in the men's game because it's deeper. Paddy was beating fellas that have been in the UFC before he even joined the UFC. Yeah. So it's different for him. But rather like Conor.
He was brilliant in his last fight, Paddy, because I expected, he went out the first one all guns blazing.
Yeah.
And it was just, that was it. You
just knocked the fella out, obliterated him, and you're like, fuck.
But then you think to yourself, is you going to go out the second time and do it again? And he went out, and it was all skill. It was like the locks, the yolks, and he just tapped them out.
Yeah.
I think, fucking hell, this is a different fight.
Of course.
To the last one.
Yeah.
Molly, the elbow, cracker.
Unbelievable.
That was just like...
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Still a knockout of the year this year. I hope she bags a big bonus at the end of the year.
She will, mate. She fucking shines. So what are your predictions on this next in London, UFC London?
Well, funnily enough, this morning it was made public that Darren Till is out of the co-main event, which is massively disappointing. Till desperately needs a win. He's one of the biggest stars in the UK.
Because I know he got beat.
He lost his last fight to Brunson, but he went into the fight with the ACL went in his knee. So I don't know where the situation's at with that right now. I presume it's the knee injury that's flared up again, which has ruled him out of London this time around as well. Massively disappointing for him. But there was a time 2 or 3 years ago, if that happened, we've lost our main event, you're fucked. But because of the strength of UK MMA right now, You know, Till's own teammate, Tom Aspinall, was the main event anyway. Till was only the co-main.
Yeah, lovely fella, Tom.
The party goes on, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh shit, Till's off. The sport is massively moving on. And Leon Edwards, the end of August from Birmingham, he goes over to Salt Lake City to fight for the UFC welterweight title as well. So right now, UK MMA scene's absolutely buzzing, you know. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to going to Salt Lake to see Leon Edwards. So
it's Liverpool that bring it though, isn't it, at the minute?
It's been like that for a long time, Bill. Once again, lucky ass me that I'm in a city that's boom town for MMA, you know. And I'd like to think I've got a great relationship with. This is the thing about being a journalist, in my opinion. This is what I say to young people who aspire to get into sports journalism all the time: is you're only as good as your relationships. You're only as good as your contact book. Do you know what I mean? And I pride myself on being in this game for 20 years. I've got a contact book that is as rich as anybody, and I'd like to think that 95% of the people in that contact book trust me, know that I'm a fair guy, know that I'm in this for the right reason. You know, football, when you're a football journalist, it's slightly different. There's quite a few football journalists in there who just fucking pick holes in football 24/7. You know what I mean? Like, it's some pastime. But because I love fight sport, I want fight sport to succeed. I want to tell the stories of these lads, largely working class, largely from broken homes, largely from rough backgrounds. I want to tell their story because I want to go, look what this guy's doing. Look where he came from or she came from. Look at Molly. Look where Molly came from. Molly wasn't supposed to win in life.
Jazza wasn't supposed to win in life.
No, Jazza Dickens, very similar background, not supposed to win at life. And you know what? And of all the people I've met in 20 years, Jazza Dickens and Molly McCann are probably up there as the fucking nicest, most beautiful souls to be around. Tony Moran's another one. Had a tough life, Tony. But I tell you what a soul that man's got. You know what I mean? And you don't get that energy. You certainly don't get that energy from anyone in football. I've met some nice footballers, don't get me wrong. But in fight sport, it's just rich with personalities. You know, a lot of people think, oh, it's thugs. You're a million miles away from the truth. A million miles away. Go into any MMA gym, mix with any professional fighters around boxing circles, anything else. It's a tight-knit community. In there, it's like everyone wants each other to do well. So I've always been responsible with, like, I would never, even to like yourself, Bill, I will never give a contact number out. Someone says to me, oh, have you got a number for such and such? I'll go, oh, yeah. I'll ask them if I can give you your number. I would never do that. If someone's give me their phone number, then that's because they trust me not to take the piss. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's been an incredible journey. I love it. I never want it to end. And I think moving forward now as well, because I'm doing more international stuff. What I do miss is going to gyms in Liverpool. I don't really get to do that much anymore. Going to the amateurs. I don't really have time to go to the amateurs anymore, with all due respect. I know that sounds like a bit of a gobshite, but because I'm flying all over the world, I've got a young family, so my focus now is the UFC. For me, that's the Champions League of MMA, and that's where my focus is, because I cover the biggest level of the sport. And then in boxing, it's obviously more of a national approach now as well. So it's the AJ fights, it's the Tyson Fury fights, it's the big fights as well. So I am fortunate, but I will never forget the fact that covering Liverpool at grassroots and then the rise of this golden generation got me to where I am today.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel fortunate to have you on, to be fair. And I do. It's quite. I could sit here all day and listen to you, because I could back around like fighters in UFC, because I never knew nothing, right, about UFC, right. You know, I knew a little bit about Muay Thai because I'd been in the ring a few times. Yeah. You know, boxing because I fought on an amateur level. But when I went on a podcast with Sue Geordie, right, a couple of years ago. Never knew who they were. Someone introduced me to them. He got in touch with me. I'd never been on a fucking podcast in my life, right? Never knew how it was going to go. Didn't know the numbers it was going to get. Sat down with them. And he was asking me about UFC. And I didn't even know who fucking Darren Till was. Right? Never heard of Conor McGregor. It's weird, isn't it? Wow. I'd lived that way of life. Like, I just so fucking, like I said, away from everyone. You know, that I was so self-absorbed. But now, like I love listening to like to yourself, especially. And I watch it all over the Twitter when you're online with and I think, fucking hell, you know, I'm learning so much. You know, I speak to Molly and I learn so much. He interviewed like Tom Aspinall. He sat there and that seat where you are. What a lovely fella he is. You know, it was great, incredible. Epstein, Mark Heppy, he fought Bisping.
Yeah.
A couple of times, 3 times, I think.
So yeah,
I think he claimed that he didn't.
Got robbed.
He got robbed. I like Mark, fucking lovely fella. But he's got these fighters with these great souls and resilience, and like you said, like the fucking warriors, you know, and having that opportunity to sit opposite people like that, like said Jack Catchell, like Jamie Moore,
been there, done it, wore the t-shirt,
Tony Bellew, Molly, Tony Moran. I've had Tony sat, you know, it's just I learned so much about their background, about how, you know, complex and tough it was. You know, because, you know, you've heard that shout, you know, boxing is a lonely sport. It is when you're in that ring. 100%. I know what it's like when you're in that ring, you know. And I've been as an amateur getting in the ring, and I've got my corner man on as a fight, and I'm getting me fucking head punched. And I remember sitting down in the second round going to John Rice, I don't really want to fucking get back up for the second round, you know.
Yeah.
And he's going, lad, you know, you get in, and you know, like he's talking it, but it's like it's just so fucking empty.
Of course,
you know. But yeah, once again, I know I've took a big load of your time.
Oh mate, I've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to, as I say, well, let me name drop some names for you that I'm looking forward to, that I'm expecting big things from before we go. There's a kid out of Cowbon who's the same gym as Till and Aspinall, Rafa Chebu, who's got all the ability in the world. I think he's going big places. Little Nick Ball, the featherweight out of Everton Red Triangle. He announced himself to the world on the Tyson Fury. Dillian White undercard with a sensational knockout. And, you know, I think everyone in Liverpool made dough that night. We all knew he was going to do that. But, you know, he's a special fighter as well. You know, I see certain things in certain fighters over the years that I've learned to recognise that just makes them slightly different. Do you know what I mean? They're just built slightly different. They're there for the end, you know what I mean? They're willing to sacrifice everything in their life to achieve it. And there's a couple of kids out of Aspire MMA up by the Rocket as well, Liam and a few of the lads there, where you just think, future UFC stars on this gym. Little Mo Mokhayev's trains there at the moment. He's just gone into the UFC. And then, you know, you go down Everton Red Triangle, and there's boys and girls rolling with Paddy and Molly. And you're like,
little Shem,
yeah.
he's a little rising.
And you're like, who's that? Oh yeah, that's such and such. He's 17. You're like, what? You know, it's just absolutely incredible, the amount of talent, and it's only going to keep going. It's only going to keep building. And you know, I think Tom Aspinall probably becomes UFC heavyweight champion at some stage in the next few years, and that will revolutionise the game as well. You know, for Britain to have a homegrown heavyweight champion. Mixed martial arts gets put on the map again. And last week, the Four Nations, just to bring it back to the amateurs, because MMA is an unusual sport. MMA is probably the only sport in history which started with pay-per-view. How mad's that? So most sports start at amateur level, and then they grow, and then, you know, amateur sport like footy, and then it gets professionalised, and it grows, and then it's the football, and then it becomes the Premier League, and then, you know what I mean, it becomes massive. MMA basically was put on most people's radar with the UFC on pay-per-view, and now we're trying to build a sport backwards, because there's MMA gyms on, you know, most working class street corners up and down the country. There's nobody at the moment going in there to check who the coaches are, to check what the facilities are like, to check if they're cleaning the mats properly. Nobody. It's just a trust issue. Now, that's got to be a problem. You know, the Amateur Boxing Association is in place to make sure that all these amateur boxing gyms in the country, the coaches are capable. They've got certain levels of coaching ability, merits. The gyms are safe environments for children. There's toilets for boys, toilets for girls. They're separate. There's all that protection there with insurance and everything else. MMA's got none of that. MMA at the moment is still not recognised by this government as a sport. So there's certain people involved, myself included, in the English Mixed Martial Arts Association, that we are already speaking to Sport England. We are putting practices in place to try and get recognition to, I'm with a charitable company, you know, no one's making any money. It costs me money to be part of it. But we are actively trying to get mixed martial arts recognised, so then we can help the government govern to make sure that these gyms are safe for children, because fundamentally that's the beeline, innit? You know, long term, of course, it'll get into the Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games, and we'll see it, like, you know, at a high standard, and eventually we'll get there, and there'll be then a route map from amateur sport into the professional game. But right here, right now, it's about making sure that everywhere is safe for kids, and mixed martial arts is for everybody. Because there's lads and girls on every single playground in this country pretending to be Paddy the Baddy and Molly McCann every weekend. And then they're going to a gym that could be set up by fucking anyone, you know what I mean? So I feel like now it's weird. Being a part of that is such an important part of my life, because I'm like, right, I can give something back now. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I've supported athletes my whole career. I've helped give them a shop window to sell themselves, promote themselves, make money, open doors. Of course, I've had advantages in my own life because of it. But now I feel like, oh shit, I could actually play a part in the future. I could be an old granddad one day with my own grandson bouncing on my knee, sitting back, watching the Olympic Games in 2038 or whatever. And someone could, from Britain or even Liverpool, could get on the podium representing UK or Team GB with a gold medal in MMA. And I could go, fucking hell, I played a little part in that actually happening. How boss would that be? What a boss thing would do. So yeah, man, it's a crazy journey. I'm 20 years in. Hopefully I've got 20 years more. To be honest, Bill, don't tell anyone. If I won the lottery, I'd do this. Yeah. I'd still do the podcast. I'd still work for BT. I just wouldn't put it in voice in. For nothing.
With that.
Mate, pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me on.